Welcome back to a brutal Vulcan playthrough. This is episode 14, Floating Island Edition. And I just got back from a mining run and going through and doing the old ore sorting. The primary focus of this episode is to get my new advanced furnace up and running, including the ability to seal it up, to retain heat, extra insulated tank outside to move gas back and forth for better control of the pressure without losing valuable heated gas. And here I'm building a whole bunch of stuff, so I need more hydroponic trays so I can finish off the hydroponic room, kind of max out the number of plants I'm growing. And here I'm going to go ahead and program the housing. So this code, there will be a link to it in the description. The link will actually be to the video that goes over the code, and then that video has a link to the actual source code. So this is the previous video, the last Stationeers coding video related to using a active vent to boost the pressure when you input gas from the outside, and to basically allow it to mirror the settings on the furnace. So if you set the furnace up, turn it on, and do inputting, the active vent automatically comes on. If you turn it off on the advanced furnace, it turns back off again. So it makes it a little more convenient than manually toggling a switch to turn it on and off. And also adds some safety protection. So if you forget to turn it off using a manual switch, in this case, it won't cause any problems. So unfortunately, the location I want to put the furnace is right to my right. So I got to kind of clean out this area to make some room for it. So I'm going to turn this up a little bit. So I'll be kind of mixing up between doing some degassing, some smelting, making some more hydroponic trays, and removing all this stuff. Now I'm going to have to find a new place to fill up my jetpack tank. So what I'm going to do, I topped off my current jetpack tank, and then I'm going to fill up the other canister and then figure out some new location to put it. Which will last me for a while, so we'll just kind of defer that problem. Yeah, I'm getting kind of full of my inventory here. And swap some batteries and organize some stuff. And this is the same old before. So effectively what's going on, the same pattern, but the new cooling system, which is still sub-optimum, is working out better. And so I keep able to make larger and larger batches of water, which a little less manual operations. And make some more water bottles here. So definitely, doing well here. So I kind of ignore this a little bit while I work on the next set of problems. Effectively, I want to get all the superalloys made. And that allows me to make a heavy suit. I can put in the heavy solar panels so they don't take damage during storms. Plus, with the new furnace system, since it's effectively a hot furnace, anytime I want to, make steel or other alloys, I just have to degas it and then go ahead and set it up so I don't have to worry about temperature variations anymore. Waiting for the peak day to fill a tank up and all that. Now, I did do a standalone video on a automatic degasser for Vulcan, and so I will be implementing that at some point. And that'll be easier because I'll be able to put terrain dirt underneath the area, so then I can use my jetpack to put the thing on top. And then when I finish my mining runs, I can just jetpack to the roof, drop it in the hopper, and let it fall through. So I hit going through here, do a little farming, grabbing some more, and continue to fill this out. So by the end of this episode, I will completely fill out the greenhouse. And then once the pressure gets to, I guess, 70 something, then I'll look at expanding the room out. And then right where I have the oven at, that's where I'll take that out, and that's where I'll put the O2 extractor, since it's right on the other side of the hydroponics area. So we'll drop this in here, and that's all. Another full bottle. Throw it in here. Yeah, I have a number of things going on, so I decided to go ahead and deal with the furnace issue, get the advanced furnace, and make all the superalloys, and that'll make future smelting a bit easier. And then I think after that, I need to address the power issue. Power is becoming a problem. For that, what I want to do, I want to set up an independent power grids for the lower section. So right now, I've got everything off the one power system, so I want to isolate the equipment below, and that equipment's all the cooling and gas processing that I'll move down there. I'll also move the water automation down there. So I have a lot of construction going in, and that's why I really need to get this new furnace up and running. That'll speed things up quite a bit. And pull this old stuff out. Now this furnace I'm looking at will stay functional, so I still have that. And once the hot furnace is in a good state, then I can go ahead and build the auto degasser on top, because you don't have to actually access that furnace. So I'll put that on top and have it kind of drop in on the floor here. And just tightening up the cabling here. Now, if you've seen that video on my last video on the furnace auto filler, I think, something like that, and you'll see that design I had kind of laid out. You'll see something very similar to that in when I build it here. We'll need an insulated tank for this setup. Get a sensor. I'm just grabbing things I need to take outside. I need a liquid drain. And we'll just start with that, and then we have our vent. Now, in setting this up, I sort of block my walkway to the end. Later on, not this episode, I'll just add some more grids around it so I can kind of get around this platform. But I can squeeze in right now, so I'll worry about that later. Hit the wrong key. I want to use the rotation keys for this. So this is the old hot tank. So this tank maintains, ideally, excessive hot gas. And that allows you to move gas back and forth between this tank and the furnace to get precise pressures that you may need for some of the alloys and superalloys. Some don't care. Some just care, something plus, but some have ranges for doing that. It also means, for example, if I need to make one of the colder alloys, I can take all that hot gas, store it in a tank, and then pull in air from the atmosphere for that run, and not have to, waste that heated gas. So you got 3 pipes: one to the tank, one to a vent outside, and one to the active vent, which is gets pulled in for pulling gas into the system. And then I have levers on the inside that I kind of manipulate. Trying to think what to call this. Let's figure I call it furnace 1. And we'll call this, should be a world gas sensor, so I know it's outside. Anyone can use it. It's outside, so it's fine. And the sun's coming up. All right, so those are 3 pipes, and I'm going to put a wall up here at some point. I want to put a glass wall or glass window at this where the current wall's at. So I'll put an inner wall, then I'll go outside, remove it, and then put in a glass wall in there. Not to really, do anything through the glass, but just so I can see the active vent and make sure it's coming on or not coming on. And it improves the view a little bit. Okay, so this vent is the vent to maintain the pressure or to keep the pressure from getting too high. Now in this case, I should add one more pipe before I do this. So I should add one more pipe, then put the back pressure regulator. And the reason for that is by adding one more pipe, I can put a pipe meter on it and I can then get a quick view of what's going on in the space between the walls and the furnace itself. And so effectively what the back pressure does, you set it like to 200 kPa. If it gets pressure gets too high, it will just vent up. So we'll just drop this on here now, just so I don't forget. Those are easy to forget to put that on. You get everything built and you just kind of not realize it's there. And get some of this stuff out of here. I did print up 2 advanced furnaces, so we have that. And hasn't cooled enough yet. And need a battery. Must have left it on. Okay, so it should be... Oh, I just drained all the water out of it, that's why. So we turn that off, and we'll just turn this off for now. At some point, I think by the end of this episode, I'll stop turning those on and off. And we'll just do a big batch of water here and get that going. This is still very suboptimum, but it's working, so I can just focus on other things right now. Get rid of this stuff I no longer need. And we have the valve. We don't have a valve on the active vent because obviously we control the active vent, so it's not really needed. And kind of clean up here. And just throw all that in the cabinet. Okay, we got an advanced furnace. Let's see, you can put this, use the movement key. Yep. And right there. And fortunately, we printed up a bunch of extra electronic parts when we made the large power vents. Need some steel. Now I'm going to wrap this, except for the bottom piece, which is the frame, which doesn't matter. But I'm going to wrap the sides and the top with steel walls, and they have a 300 kVA pressure limit. And I'll set the back pressure regulator to 200 kVA for a little buffer in there. And running low on insulated pipe. Also making a console and a gas display. I'm just going to put a little display in there finally for displaying the temperature out there, and it will hook these both up. I don't bother with a system to create a complete vacuum like when switching from like, cool gas to hot gas. The little bit of gas in that pipe is, very little. So it's not worth the extra complexity of creating a vacuum. I could set that up by using the active vent in reverse mode. So basically shut all the valves and then empty the pipes out using the active vent. I thought about that, but the use case is really not there, especially right now. And I need a lot more chutes so I can get access. I get the walls up. So while that's going on, we'll cable this. As I said, that should be up one higher. That would have been a little easier. And we'll just snake the cable around like this. We'll connect all these together. And the chute should be done by now. And our output, we're just going to snake that up and drop it on the floor. And not going to bother with the export bin. We'll just have a straight pipe coming out. And then for the input side, we'll snake it down and around and a little bit up so we have some buffering in there. I guess technically I could put a whole bunch more in there and kind of go crazy with the pattern, but this is good enough. A little higher. There. Trying to think what I need and what I need to print and what's next. And so I need a gas display. Print that up. And you might have noticed that from that video. So, which will be in a link in this, in the description. I mean, basically, I'm wiring all this stuff up, and it wasn't a big deal putting the console right there and putting the gas sensor outside. So, and drop that back. And I love that tunnel. I know I said that many times, but the tunnel's kind of worked out pretty nice. Okay, so I have flat walls and normal walls. So flat walls I use as walls, and the other ones I use as windows. So I'll put one on the top because the top piece right now is iron. Also allows me to remove that piece should I want to put a frame up there later on. I don't need one in the back yet because I'll have to pull the back panel off to get gas in that space. And so when I do that, when I take the back off, I'll put on a steel wall at that point. So then we'll have steel wall all around and a frame on the bottom. If I can get that, it seemed like the cross piece is the best way to, right there is the best place to do that. Now I need to put a wall here, so when I pull off the piece on the outside and replace it with a window, I don't flood the room. Getting this up, I'll need to go outside. We don't need that. And I guess we'll turn these on for one more time, getting ready for the nighttime. Oh, still has gas in it, so we wiped out all the volatiles. Now, I have a much larger tank of volatiles down in the floor below this, and I can route that around, but I need to extend the floor a little bit, so that's definitely on the things to do list. And I'll just snake this around. So that's connected to the active vent and the display. I mean, the sensor outside. And snake it around here. Figure I'd name this while I'm at it. Just so it's consistent with the other naming conventions, the furnace 1. So the next one will be furnace 2, 3, 4, 5. And D0 is the furnace, and D1 is the active vent. I'll need a data card for that. Needed that for the airlocks. So the airlocks, I started on the airlocks. I haven't finished that yet. Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to work. I knew it was not going to work. But I just figured, well, you know, just if I really, really hoped it worked, then maybe it would. So we have to give it power. Thought I'd put down a transformer, but then we stuck with a transformer in the middle of the room. Unfortunately, even put a transformer in there temporarily would be nice, because now I got to scroll through this whole list of things. You know, the things that can't be, you know, the grayed out ones, like why bother? Be nice if you could not display those. And there's furnace 1, world gas, that's the one I want. And then when I click it, it like resets the scroll for some reason. And I'm like, is it at the bottom now? Just on the top? And we want temperature, and heck with it. Well, I guess there's arrows there I could use too. All right, so we have that now. A little faster to read that. The outdoor temperature. So it's definitely nighttime. Seeing when I need to go outside. Trying to figure out which wall I need, the flat wall or the non-flat wall. And I said I used a non-flat wall for windows. That's what I want to put in. Just double checking everything. Did everything right. And we'll pop that off. Take my time here so I don't punch a hole through the base. All right, so that's my window. And technically, I really don't need the window. That's just for fun. And I realized that, no, I don't want to. So I took the piece off to put air in it, because when I box it up, there's a vacuum in there, and I need some gas in there for the furnace to stop losing heat. You put it in a vacuum, you'll lose heat. If you put gas in, that gas goes over 100 kilopascals, it'll block the heat. Or at least greatly reduce it until it equalizes with the container. As I open it up, close it, that put gas in the chamber. And so then I'm thinking that we'll make it 200. And the issue is I made it 200 thinking that the box can take 300 kilopascals, but then I realized that the iron will only do 200, not 300. So I need to go out there and replace that. Going, oh yeah, I need to change that wall out to steel here. So we'll take this off. Man, I really wish they would stack those pieces. That's so much nicer. And say I want to use a flat wall. This will be solid. I don't want to use glass because the windows I use only have a 200 kilopascal limit. If you use the padded steel windows, they have 300. Why that difference is there, I don't know. I don't like the look of the padded one, so I refuse to use them. And that's just one of my quirks. All right, so I think we're all set here. We programmed it, everything's wired up, that's set up, that's the 200. So it gets too much gas. And so the goal there with the back pressure valve is to prevent it from hitting 300. Putting stuff away. And we'll go a little faster here and swap out batteries, getting ready to do a quick mining run. Oh, bottle of water. And they're stacking up. Switch out tanks. And grab a wild baked potato. Yeah, I need to put a shelf in here too. Okay. Double checking everything. And let's squeeze in some mining. So I want to make all the superalloys, and the first one I want to make is the hottest, which is stellite. It requires 1.8 kilokelvins or 1527 Celsius, which is pretty hot. So typically I want to do the hottest one first, get the furnace gas as hot as I can, and then make that, and then go ahead and store that in the tank. So now I have this really hot gas, and then work my way down the temperature gradient. Some of them I can just use atmospheric air. It makes it a little easier. Now the really hot one, that's why I've been saving the gold and the silver and the lead, because I use all those three in combination to get the temperature really hot, because they have either oxygen or nitrox in it, and both those combining with the volatiles that are in the system will definitely heat it up. So I'm getting everything set up here. So the goal is to wait till we hit I'm just double checking that my program's working as expected. So once it gets somewhat overhead peak temperature or close to that time, then I'll go ahead and fill up the furnace to about, 10 megapascals, something like that. And then I'll go ahead and start throwing in all the lead, gold, and silver I have in there to get it warmed up nice and toasty. Now, while this is happening, of course, the pressure in the furnace is going up and up, so I need to dump that out into the tank I have out there. And at times, even after I dump it into the tank, it'll still continue to burn within that tank if the mixture hasn't fully burned within the furnace. And here I am making some more hydroponic trays. I want to finish that room. Well, not finish the room off. We'll finish what the area I currently have set up, which is 7 by I think it's like 17 across down, but 7 rows of, I think it's 17 all the way through. So that's 7 times 17, 119. I'm sure someone will comment if I did the math wrong. All right, so it's hot enough. We're going to turn it on, and we're filling. And in theory, the magical code turned on the active vent, and we are loading. And going to make some, while that's doing its thing, making some insulated wrap. I figured I'd work on the airlocks a little bit while that's filling. I need to paint those, I guess, make them orange. I guess I should have painted the wrap first and then put them on. I'm not sure. I paint the wrap and wrap it. It should be orange for insulated. So I'm grabbing the insulated pipe and the passive vent for the locker work. Or the airlock work, should I say, not the locker, airlock work. And I'm looking at it, I think it's starting to go back down now. It's like, okay, we hit the peak. And I want to make sure I have enough gas because some of the superalloys require pretty high pressures to work. Now, the ones that operate within Vulcan, temperature range is not too bad. And okay, so I'm getting it set up so if I need to dump gas into the tank, I'm ready. Now, the key thing is when you're mucking around, you're moving gas around, you only want to use a tank, and you have to just turn off the housing for the chip that mucks with the active vent so it doesn't get involved while you're doing that. Specifically trying to move gas from the insulated tank and into your advanced furnace. So it's kind of checking everything. So it's definitely in the good enough for now category. Not empty. I'm going to fill that up. Yeah, and you put chips in all this stuff. Right now, I'm not in a situation where I'm doing large enough batches to cause any type of pressure issues or pipe breakage issues. Okay, so that batch is done. It's got to wait to cool down a little bit, and then we can hit it with the cool CO2 to bring it down. Just making sure that's off. Okay, so it seems to be warm enough. Let's get this thing warm. Yeah, they're a little tricky. Like you need lead for blast ploy, but that only requires a 700 to 800 Kelvin range, which is pretty cold. So the key is to figure out something else to use the lead on that's useful before you do the smelting. And in this case, I'm using it to get the furnace nice and hot for that first hot batch. And I'm monitoring the pressure. This is also important to monitor the pressure. So you don't throw too much in there, it combusts, heat goes up, and then you blow up the furnace. Now I have a quick way to check that. And what I'm doing here is I vented the gas that was in the pipe out and then closed the valve. So there's a little bit of junk in there, but not really that much. So no, I don't care. Now see what I'm doing here? if I would have moved that regulator up one more pipe, that would have made the pipe below it solid. Then I could have put a pipe meter on there, and I would not need to use the tablet to see what's going on in there. At some point, I'll probably just move it. So the key is you want over 100 kilopascals in there, and obviously, as the tank temperature goes up and down, that gas will go up and down. But whatever your maximum temperature is, you want around 200, a little over 200, and that way it cools down. You still have over 100. Because you want over 100 kilopascals in there for its ability to block the heat, or should I say, to prevent heat loss. And what happens is the tank will equalize with the gas around it, and if that gas equalizes the same temperature in and out of the furnace, and the pressure is over 100 kilopascals, then it'll stay fixed, and it'll stay like that forever, not losing any heat. And it's holding now. I'm not sure where the pressure is at, but it's probably close. Now, obviously, when you get really close to it, it just greatly reduces the amount of heat loss. Now, that's assumed. Now, when I throw in something like gold, it has a cooling effect, but the oxygen combines with the volatiles have a heating effect. So it kind of does both, but net-wise, if I have volatiles in there, which I should have a boatload of volatiles in there, it does heat up. And it's getting hotter and hotter. And it said I need 1.8 Kelvin. So I hit the limit, hit the range I need for stellite, which means I'm going to need a bunch of silicon, silver, and cobalt. Quite a few things use cobalt. 3 different superalloys require cobalt. So it seems to be the critical thing. So the key is if you're out mining and you see cobalt, always grab it. You will need it. It's priority over probably everything else. And I'm still throwing stuff in there. Trying to find my tablet here. Okay, so we have 123, so we're not in any danger of containment failure, should we say. But it says 123 at that really hot temperature. So if I have a temperature that's lower than that, then I might have to inject some gas in there at some point, bring it up a little bit. Since I have a passive vent in there, I can just change the piping on the right-hand side a little bit and do something to pump something in there. I can just take my jetpack tank and just pump that stuff in there a little bit. I have an extra jetpack tank, so I can just take that, pump a little bit of that in there to fill in the space if I need to. Yep, so I'm kind of monitoring the... Now that's been degassed, so it should have no impact to what's in there, but it's nice and hot, so I can save them. I was thinking I'm going to make a superalloy, and so since it's already been smelted, I don't need to, make an ingot. I can just use raw ore for that. Okay, so we get it down a little bit. So here I am pushing gas from the furnace into that pipe. So that's why I have those little valves on there on the outside. Now, cobalt has volatiles in it, which is, since you already have volatiles in there, it shouldn't have any impact to the temperature. So we're gathering up some ore here. Getting temperature pretty close. We'll nail it once we get everything mixed in there. Biggest factor right now is not to mess up the counts. So I'm going to do a double batch, which requires 4 silicon, and I always do groups of 50, and then we need 2 silvers, which is not a problem, and 2 cobalts. The problem with the 2 cobalts, I only have 2 groups of 50 cobalt, and I use up all my cobalt. thinking, well, how hard is cobalt is to find. And once it all mixed, since I already have the temperature, I just need a pressure between 10 megapascals and 20 megapascal. And that's going to be real simple to do here with this setup. So it's going to be no big deal. And voila. Our first superalloy. Let's take it over here. I don't make cobalt, so that cuts out some of the things I can do, but I can make incalm, which requires gold, steel, and nickel. And I got gold, steel, and nickel, although I'm getting low on steel. And that requires 600 Kelvin plus, but it has a very tight range between 23.5 and 24 megapascals. But with this setup, this is real simple to do. That's not a problem at all. So I kind of gather everything up, do the counts over and over and over, make sure I don't F up. Close it, and boom, boom. Yeah, I think I'm getting short on steel. I got to make some more. That's not too big of a deal. And we just have to get it just with it. Now I'm turning this off because I'm going to pull gas in. Before I've just been pushing gas out. I should have turned that off earlier as a safety thing. So now it won't interfere. When I start pulling gas, it'll only pull from the insulated tank. It won't try to pull outside. Now there are scenarios where you may want to pull outside to kind of cool the gas down a little bit, but this is not that scenario. Because I need to boost the pressure a little bit. And I kind of play with the numbers, the rate, so I don't, go too quickly, and now I go back down again and go back and forth. So, and voila. So that's pretty easy. And I'm kind of looking at what else I can make, and I go, well, I need cobalt. I guess I can make glass ploy, and that's easy enough. I just empty the tank out and then bring gas from outside before it gets too hot, and then make that run. So that's pretty easy. Lead's pretty easy at this point. Just got what time during the day. I decided to hold off on that. I wasn't sure if I want to empty the tank out or mine yet, so I figured I'd just leave it for now. But I do end up just pushing all the gas from the furnace into the insulated tank. Man, it's like a jungle in here. The pressures are already up to 60 kilopascals in here. So we're definitely pumping out the O2. I could put another row in there, I guess. Nice big tank there. Start filling that up. A little pile of water bottles keeps going. I'm not going to make any more water bottles at this point, so I think I got enough. I may have to hold off on my water production for a while, which is a good place to be. Work myself down on that list. But I can still have the water cool, do a really big batch of water and then cool it down. Oh, speaking of water, so when I do the water automation, I will not be using the water filter. So the water filter that pulls the water out, the steam effectively out of the mixed gas from the combustor, the goal is not to use that technique. I'll lower it down to a temperature range that the pollutants still stay gas form, but water will come out, and then bring it out at that temperature. And once the water is separated, then continue to cool just the water down. So that way I don't need the filters in the water production system. Because obviously I can make water the easy way, so I need to make it a little more fancier. Okay, so I'm going to hunt for cobalt, which is probably easier, one, during the day, and two, if I had a color ore scanner. All right, so going to, I was hoping because it's still daylight, I would see some cobalt. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, well, right to the right, you missed it. You went right over the cobalt. Here's some nickel. Let's go for this while we're here. It's not cobalt, but I want to at least get something, because if I can't stay out too long, I have to come back into a waste tank here. Kind of looking around, see if I see any. Yeah, my little dirt island there keeps the thing floating. Kind of nice. Makes the jetpack a little easier. Speaking of that, I was curious, do I need to make the whole bottom of the base full of dirt, or could I do like every other one or every third one or every fourth one? You know, depending on the algorithm and how that works. I also noticed my dirt canisters doesn't seem to be going past 64. So I guess 64 is the limit. I'm not sure how much dirt would you put in there. So I think I don't recognize this until in this episode. I think next episode I'll swap it with the one I have in the manipulator. And then I'm going to have to either make more dirt canisters or most likely just go ahead and use them up, since they seem to max out at 64. And here I am doing just smelting. Now smelting is easier because I have really hot gas, and as long as I degas it in the other one first. And yeah. And I also want to move that up next time, put a meter on it. So I did make some more steel, so that's useful. I need to break it up, so I probably need to set up a standalone stacker too. It's always something to make. All right, so yeah, we didn't find any cobalt. Let's go empty that out, and then let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. Yeah, it said definitely hits that limit, and it only cools so far. Now the solution to that is have a combination of both the medium radiators and the convection radiators. And the convection radiators, of course, will have to be outside. And that would get it down further. But if you really want to get it down to 20, I think you need some type of cooling system, either AC or phase change. And my goal at this point is not to put any more AC units in. So any future cooling system, I'll have just my one AC. My one AC I'll use for this room for now, but anything future I'll use phase change. All right, it's time for some more farming. So just go ahead and let's get this filled up. So at this point, definitely we've got way plenty O2. Let that cook for a while, and yeah, we may have too much O2 at some point. And do the old water thing. Swap out batteries. And I'll go ahead and replace that canister while we're goofing off a little bit here. Make sure some gas. We'll throw that in there, get rid of that. Oh, it's dropping. Looking at all my stuff. And we'll need some more potatoes. Fortunately, I put some in there. I think they last forever once you put them in there. We're going to make 2. Now, obviously, if I use trading, I can then get wheat and other seeds and make better foods, but I don't plan to do any trading in this particular series. Maybe there's some type of... Is there like eat potatoes for like 30 days, you get an achievement or something like that? Yeah, so a big chunk of this episode is obviously getting that new furnace up and running, which is an important thing to have running. And I do want to go through and get the rest of the superalloys. And I think definitely going to get a color ore scanner and play around with that in the next episode, because I try to find more cobalt in my second mining run, and I don't find any. Looking around, what's going on? Need to finish these airlocks. You know, I got really good at doing the manual airlocks. I haven't F one of those things up in like forever. There's not much in there. Kind of think, what should I do now? I got the gas in it. So I'm afraid that leave it sit there, it's just going to cool for whatever reason. So I figured, well, just dump it in the insulated tank. That way I know it's safe. And that way I can use it for something cold or make lead or other things like that pretty easily off the atmosphere. So this is still a little tricky. So it's not, you know, totally automatic. You have two manual switch valves you got to manipulate on the side. You have the IC chip, which you may want to have turned on or turned off depending on what you're doing. And then of course you have the input output settings on the furnace. And I believe on this mining run, my dirt canister will not go any higher than a 64. That is if I'm going to find any cobalt in the dark here. There's some silver, so I might as well go ahead and drill that out. And I need to make more steel, so... Yeah, lava. Worried about the lava. There's some gold. I need some more silicon. That. So just, yeah, my canister's not going up, so 64 is the limit. Alright. Alright, so that's about it. We're getting close to the end. I'm just going to mine for a bit, and then once I fill up, I'll go back to the base and open the door, and we'll stop right there. And so the next episode, I'll definitely get a color ore scanner. I think I have all this stuff I need to make that. And hope it doesn't require a super alloy I don't have. That would suck. Alright, until next time, see ya.